Welcome to the Heart-Centered Sales Leader podcast on webtalkradio.net. Of course, I am your heart-centered sales leader and host, Connie Whitman. Thanks for joining us today. Now, on your journey of change and business and growth and sales, which we know has to come from a place of love, care, and respect, I have my free communication style assessment for you to take to help you on that journey. And here's the deal, guys. The better we can communicate, the better our sales becomes. So we have to understand what our superpowers are, but we also have to understand the flip side and the blind spots. So when you take the free communication style assessment, you get 2 reports, your superpower, your blind spot, and then you can navigate, and I give you some ideas to create change from that perspective. So go to whitmanassociates.com/CSA, communication style assessment, CSA, and I will put that in the show notes. Second thing, because I ask so much from all of you. If you're loving the show, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Share with your friends and family. I really do always hope the content provides some value and action steps for you immediately after the show. So subscribe, rate, and review, and share. I feel the love, and I do appreciate that. And the last thing, please stay to the end of the show. I know some people click out. Don't click out today. My guest and I were going to share some really cool information later that you'll have an opportunity to listen to even more great content from a group of amazing people that my guest Natasha is hosting. And I will be one of the speakers. So stay till the end so you get that information as well. Now, my quote from today is from Socrates, and it says, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new." So are you driving change, or are you coaching others to resilient ways of coping with change? And do you have desire to even change how you lead or maybe how you coach your people? These are important questions I want you, all my leaders out there, to contemplate. Now, today, my guest is my wonderful friend and colleague from the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, is Natasha Todorovic-Cowan. And I hope I said your name right, Natasha. And Natasha and I, we're going to explore the leader as a coach and becoming more and more important with every stressful hit that all of our people around us are taking. Growing change readiness and resilience must be your mantra for today's times. Now, Natasha is the CEO and co-founder of the National Value Center Consulting and owner of Spiral Dynamics. Whether your challenges are resistance to change, cultures and conflict, strategic partnerships, dysfunctional teams, or strategic change, I can't say that word, implementation, Natasha's experience includes unraveling the people side of organizational change from C-suite to shop floor, to shop floor using a proven human systems approach. Now, for over 25 years, Natasha has been working with leaders, consultants, coaches, and organizations, applying her proprietary Spiral Dynamics cultural DNA survey, leadership assessments, which are amazing, and change readiness index to predict hurdles to change. Now, her techniques for handling corporate change are rooted in 70 years of research and application in a variety of industries and sectors. She's delivered over 200 plus Spiral Dynamics certification programs in 14 plus countries and on 5 continents. I know that was a long intro, but I did not want to take anything out. Natasha is an outstanding person, outstanding business owner. So please help me welcome her to the show. So Natasha, thank you for being on. And again, it's a lengthy intro, but you deserve it, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Connie. I thank you so much. That was a lot.
And it's so funny because my guests send me their bios and I usually kind of cut and paste from it to shorten it. But I thought, gosh, everything you do is so powerful and important. And with everything that's going on in the world today, what you do, I think, is so exponentially important that I just wanted people to understand the depth and breadth of who you are. And that's why I know it was a little lengthy, but I thought it would set the stage for our conversation today, and really the powerful approach that you take in navigating leadership change, organizational change, and all of those things. So important, right? It's important stuff.
Thank you, Connie. It is a delight. It's a treasure. It's an honor to be here with you.
Yeah, I love hanging out with you, my friends. All right. So first question, what is the difference between driving change and being a leader as a coach through change? And there is a distinction.
There is absolutely a distinction. So the other day, I was looking at this cartoon, and the guy's standing at the library, and he's like at the desk, and the librarian's, behind the counter saying, "All right, let me get this straight. You want a book on changing everyone, but not yourself." So that's the difference. It's the idea that all of you have to do this, you must change. I'm excluded, right? And if you imagine every human being is kind of like a seed, right? The moments and the people and the relationships that stand out for us are those where someone saw greater potential in us than we saw in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what stays with us. That's someone who believed in us. That's someone who saw who we could become. That was someone who allowed us to evolve in ways that we didn't even know were possible. And that's the other side of that change. That's the growing of human potential. That is the nurturing of talent. And that is also the support of others through change. And we've got to be willing to change as well. And typically, when you say we've got to change, the first thing is like, oh my gosh, yes, we do, but not me.
Right. Deflect. It's everybody else's problem, not mine. But it's funny because the greatest leaders through time have led through people, right? Because number one, as a leader, we can't do it alone. We need people, right, to execute whatever our organizational culture is, structure, product, whatever we're trying to get out to market. So we need people to do that because we certainly can't stand alone. And on the flip side, our employees deserve that honor of being viewed, that there is potential and growth, and then having the desire to share, right, your own expertise to help them grow. I think that's just really, I think that is what makes for a powerful leader, is that ability to say, I need to change, we need to change. I see the opportunity within you. Let me help you grow as the person that I know you can be, or the delivery channel, or the leader that you can grow into. So yeah, it's a game changer, right? When we look from that perspective. Now, you just alluded that, yeah, you change, but I'm not going to change. Why is change so hard for most people that you found through the years?
There are a ton of things, right? We've got this thing that happens where we go into fight or flight, right? Change means there's something wrong with me. We are social creatures. If there's something wrong with me, I'm going to be rejected and ejected from the tribe, and I'm going to die. Right?
That's right.
So that's that panic moment. And then there's also the stuff of, I have all these habits. I've invested in becoming this person, doing this thing. There's the, I don't need to, because I'm seeing things in a particular way where maybe I'm not seeing it accurately. So it's perception, it's behavior, it's habit, it's self-awareness, it's context awareness. Yeah. There are all these things that are preventing us from seeing what needs to happen, and it's not easy. And most of us have had these negative experiences where it was painful, we were hurt, we hurt others, we don't want to go there.
Are there certain layers of change that you've identified to make it very clear for people to say, oh, I do that. I better pay attention to that.
Yeah, well, when we work through change with organizations, and also, I do a certification for coaches who are helping their clients through change. When we're running through change, we're asking, what is it that needs to change? And you're right, there are multiple layers. And one of the layers is, where are we with beliefs? Where are we with values? Where are we with our behavior? Where are we with the messages and the opinions, the content layer of change that is easier to see, that is easier to work with, that's more tangible, that's discussable as well. So that's the easiest layer. And I know some people are like, whoa, Natasha, beliefs and values can change. I'm like, yeah, they can. And they are much easier to see than some of the other layers. The second layer is connection. We live and die in relationship. We are a social creature. And in fact, when a prisoner is put in solitary confinement for 3 days, they show signs of traumatic brain injury. It's because they haven't been relating. They haven't been in their social system.
Wow.
So it's that relating piece where we're handling affect, we're handling connection, we're handling multiple forms of this heart flow from one to another, this mind flow from one to another, this opening of self to another individual, you know, back and forth. And I call that the connection layer.
We're energetic beings.
Yeah, that's it's the stuff that goes on between us and where we feel seen, heard, understood, where we feel embraced.
Absolutely.
So any change has to embrace the fact that people are going to stumble and they're going to feel frustrated and they're going to feel angry and they're going to have all these feelings. And we've got to be open to that. We've got to be aware of it in ourselves. We've got to be aware of it in others. And we need to handle it more elegantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, that's the next layer, which is the connection layer. And then we've got context, and context is, and I actually talked a little bit about this in my TEDx talk, but context is what I've found over the years in teaching the work and doing the work that I do, is that we are blind to our contexts. We are like fish in a goldfish bowl, and it's like, describe the water, and it's the way I live. So we have a number of processes where we look at this particular context. And for organizations, it's the marketplace, it's how consumer trends might be shifting and changing, it's how competitors might be shifting and changing. For individuals, it's the way they're organizationally, the way team members treat them, the way their boss treats them. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it bring out their best? Does it encourage them to kind of shrink? Are they opening or are they contracting? So if you're thoughtful about the environment that you build, and a lot of organizations focus on culture, and that's what culture is. It's the context in which these seeds of talent and potential can grow.
Is there any other layers after that third one?
Well, there is what we call conceptualizing,
Okay.
which is how does the person think and react and feel and process the information, the signals from the environment. So there's a back and forth between the individual and their neurology and the world outside pressuring them. So I like to use the metaphor of the pearl. Pearls are made in that shell, that soft tissue when that foreign object comes in, right? So that's what's happening, that context with the conceptualizing, or the coping system. We call it coping systems as well.
Humans, we are complex beings. So when we say change, there, these are four very distinct layers that very clear to me, but there's a lot going on in each of those four layers. So we really are complex beings. And the other thing, we now science is showing that we have our beliefs, our filters, our perspectives, right? That like that fishbowl, that kind of narrow perspective. we have beliefs from our ancestors that we haven't even lived through. It's just transmitted through our DNA. So the complexity of humans going through these 4 layers is real. And that's, I think, great answer as to why change is so hard, because there's a lot going on. It's not just a simple do this and then this happens, right? There is an element of that, but there's a lot of that going on. And that's why change is so hard. Now, your specific company, Spiral Dynamics, the Change Readiness Index, how do you use it? And are these 4 layers kind of built into that?
Yeah, so the Spiral Dynamics Change Readiness Index is used by coaches, it's used by service providers, consultants, it's also used by leaders and organizationally.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, when I do consulting engagement, the first thing I start with is assessment. Because, if you go to the doctor's office and you say, doc, I think I've been having these headaches. I think I have a brain tumor, so just schedule me tomorrow to take it out, right? That's the equivalent of how a lot of organizational development and change is being done. It's a self-diagnosis. No doctor would do that, right? They'd say, all right, Natasha, hold on a sec, let's do a few tests. Is that okay? Right? So what we do is we want to get into that organizational DNA. And we want to know who's going to resist the change, who's going to leap at it, who's going to be okay with it, but we need to feed it in bite-sized bits. Who's going to push back and just dig their heels in and undermine the whole thing? Because all too often, the engineers and the creators of change are doing it out of, as you said, they're doing it out of their own filters. And they're not doing it for people who may process change in very different ways. So we want to know, how change ready are they? How resilient are they? Are they going to dig their heels in? How stressed are they? What kind of change is needed here? And it's a tool that's been used around the world. It's translated into a dozen different languages. And it is super powerful in giving you the pulse of what's happening organizationally, but also individually, because we've got coaches using that tool to help their clients through change and transformation. And it gives you a before and after. So some tools are like, if you do a personality assessment, your personality is your personality. That's not going to change, right?
That's
but
right.
Our clients are trying to tackle resilience, where they're trying to tackle some kind of a change. We could give them a very good read up front, like when you're dipping your dipstick into the oil and going, okay, do we have enough, right? It's no, not quite enough. Well, then we can work on that. You add whatever you need to add, or take away whatever you need to take away some stressors, add a different approach, dip your dipstick in again. It's like, oh, okay, it's working. You get to see the transformation.
Yeah. It's like anything in life, Natasha, right? You have to have a plan. And Spiral Dynamics, I mean, you guys have been around forever, right? You're based in 70 years of research and testing. And so it's a proven methodology as well. It's not like I whipped this together overnight. So you have this great track record. People need a map, a roadmap, a path of clarity. So I know, because we can waste so much time, right? By saying, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And there's no rhyme or reason. And then you look back a year later and you think, oh my goodness, I'm in the exact same spot I started, or worse yet, I've taken steps back and the world has moved on beyond me. So you want to make sure that you do have that clarity, that path, that roadmap, and you guys provide that. How do leaders, so people listening are thinking, wow, this is fascinating. Yes, I understand everything. Natasha just said, yes, we're trying to build a culture within our organization, or I'm trying to coach and teach someone exactly what Natasha's talking about. How does the leader find a good coach to help them so that the individual can be more effective as we go through this whole, humongous thing we call change, right? One word, but it's a huge word.
Yeah. So if a leader is looking for a coach, And there are great coaches, and there are people who really like to be coaches.
Exactly.
Coaching. And, you can have an amazing coach who's worked with other leaders and not work effectively with you. So, what I like to do is I like to look at fit and the congruence, we call it congruence. But does the leader fit their team? And by the same token, does that coach fit this leader? So sometimes if you're looking for a coach, you might need to go through a few before you understand what you're looking for in a coach and what coaching might offer to you as a leader. What I'll do when working with an organization, because I'm not a coach, but I do train coaches. So I've seen literally thousands of coaches over the years. What I'll do is connect my leader with a proper coach. And I know who my coaches are, and I know the leader's assessment results, and we're looking for match.
Absolutely.
We're looking for fit. We're looking for the coach who is going to be able to bring the most out of this particular leader. So I do it through assessment. And if a leader is doing it without that kind of an assessment, make sure that they are credentialed. There are a lot of different credentialing organizations. ICF is the popular one, probably the most known one. There's also ICC, and there's also if you're in Europe, the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. So, and they're really super on getting their coaches to get their education, and their credentialing is really quite amazing. So just look for that, look for as developed a coach as you can find who specializes in working with the leaders and your particular issue. It might be a leadership style thing, very different from leader connecting to team thing. So some coaches and most coaches are great individually. Looking at a fit to an organizational system like a team or the larger culture takes a different coach. So you might be working with a different coach for different things.
Yeah. That makes sense. If you think about it, like you were saying, I have a headache, so I have a brain tumor, right? If you have a brain tumor, you're not going to go to a general ER surgeon or a general, ER person. You're going to go to the best of the best of the best, specializing in brain neuro surgery, whatever it's called, right?
That particular kind of tumor.
Exactly my point. So if you have breast cancer, you're going to go to a breast surgeon, right? You're not going to go to the brain surgeon. So it's the same exact thing. That was like so clear for me, what you just said, that sometimes we need multiple coaches with multiple specialties, depending on where the diagnosis is or what the aspiration is, what do we want to achieve within the organization. And it's so funny, Natasha, that you said the credentials. I remember years ago, and I won't mention the name of the organization, but I was following this person, and they had a free 30-minute, coaching. And me, I'm curious. So I'm thinking, let me see what they're doing. You never know. Maybe I will hire them. Maybe I have a blind spot, because I said that at the onset of the show, right? We all have blind spots. Let me just check this out. So I get on with this woman. She was lovely. But as she was asking me questions, I was asking, I ask questions, Natasha, right? That's my sales background. And so I started asking her questions, and she kept saying, well, this isn't about me, it's about you. And I said, yes, but if I'm going to hire you, I need to know who I'm hiring. So these are questions I have. Well, by the end of the conversation, I finally pulled out of her it was tough to pull it out of her, because she kept fighting me to answer my questions. She was basically, she had been a stay-at-home mom, which is cool, right? No judgment on my part. She had just come back. She was an empty nester, had been traveling with her husband, who was an executive. And now she wanted something for herself that she can do from the road as she travels with the husband. And so she went and took a coaching certification from this other person. and was coaching. And I said to her, so how long have you been doing this? Oh, 6 months. I got certified 6 months ago. Now, at that point, I had been in business maybe 13 years. So I think, you're going to help me grow my business. Well, how are you going to do that? Again, this is about you, not about me. So she kept deflecting because she couldn't answer me, because she clearly did not have the depth of knowledge to be able to coach me to the next level within my business. And that was a real shocker for me, because I thought this was a very reputable organization. Come to find out later, they weren't, and that it was just a money making exposition or expedition for him, so that he created all these coaches that didn't have any depth. You are such, and I've known you now for a couple of years, Natasha. And when I see something like that, it infuriates me, because then there are people like you and your organization, which is based in all of this scientific proof, and the people that you bring on have this depth of knowledge and expertise that's extraordinary, right? And so I'm glad you just said that you need different coaches for different things. And I hope everyone listening, you heard that. Really vet out if you're hiring a consultant or a coach or someone that you're bringing in to develop a culture within your organization. You need someone like a Natasha, whose organization has this robust depth that they can bring and satisfy whatever situation you're in, because your network, Natasha, of coaches and stuff is truly extensive, right? I mean, you have ridiculous depth.
That is so. And it sounded like not only what happened in that interaction for you was about inexperience on coach's side.
Yeah.
The coach was trying to use a coaching approach to demonstrate her coaching ability. And you took control of the conversation because you're like, I don't know, I kind of like her. Let's see, let's find out more. And that was kind of a miscommunication, because what she learned to do was ask questions. She didn't learn to have a blended conversation. So she didn't know where to go with you. And a lot of coaches, because they're so focused on the other person, which is why they get into coaching, are loath to talk about themselves. This is because what you're taught in coaching is you have to make it, about this other person, and it's all about questions. So she didn't get your needs, didn't fulfill your needs, was taught a particular approach for the conversation, and didn't know how to have an organic conversation that met your needs.
Which is important. I'm sorry, because who's your client, right? For me in sales, it's always about my client. It's never about me. How can I support and help them grow? I taught a class yesterday, and a young lady asked me a question. And of course, I responded quickly. I've been doing this 39 years. And she looked at me and she said, oh, I love coming to your classes. I said, oh, thanks. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm glad you're learning. And she says, you make everything so simple. In my head, it's so complicated. And then you share, try this, and this, like you give us 3 little steps. And I think, oh, I can do that. So it's taking this complexity and making it simple, but I've been doing this 39 years. So, and that's the other thing I think is important about how you approach organizations or individuals, is that you said it at the onset, right? The values. So if our values aren't in alignment, Natasha, you and I would never have connected and done multiple shows. And I've been on multiple summits. It would have been like, yeah, she was nice. It was nice hanging out with her. There wouldn't have been, wait, we need to do more. Wait, I think you can help my peeps, with your knowledge. So I think that that robust depth of knowledge that you have that alignment, you have the capacity to bring the right people together in the right situation. It's critical. I want everybody to really hear that. This is critical. Know who you're getting in bed with, so to speak, right?
Well, and a perfect example of that is, I was working with an organization. They had a new hire, and the new hire was fabulous. And the new hire was talented, and the new hire was the perfect leader in their organization.
Wow.
Not for this one. And 50% of leaders, when they shift contexts, don't succeed in the new context.
Really?
50%.
That's huge.
that goes to that fit, right? You can be an amazing coach with one person. Are you going to be an amazing coach with this person?
Absolutely.
So someone who's been around for a while gets to understand and knows, yes, I can help. Maybe I can make this much of a dent. No, I can't help it all, but I'll know someone who can.
I
So,
love you. I love you. I always say when you evaluate, right? Sales is about evaluating it, or you, the client, and myself, what I can deliver, or my organization deliver. Are we a match, right? And to me, if it's not a match, you shouldn't be making the sale or asking for the business. That's that icky manipulative kind of approach. It's about the money. It's not about the results for the person or the organization. So it's funny because I teach, right? You and I've had this conversation multiple times. When you get to the point of asking for the business, it's exactly what you said. Through all of that evaluation and conversation, three things will happen. You and I are going to say, holy smokes, what a great fit. How fast can we get this, rock and roll in your process or learning, whatever. Second thing is, I will say to the client, you're not ready for me. You have all of these other balls in the air. Before we can focus on this particular skill, foundationally, you really need to achieve that. We'll stay in touch, but you really need to get that done before you're ready for this piece of the puzzle. And then the third one is, you're not a right fit for me. I'm not the right fit for you. I need to connect you with a colleague who's at better aimed or better able with their arsenal of resources to help you in your situation. You really shouldn't get objections. If you're getting objections, you miss something, right? So that should be the three results. And it's exactly what you said. If I'm the right coach, let's rock and roll, baby. Like, let's get this going. But if I'm not, the results aren't going to happen. Why are we even starting the dance, right? It's just wasting time and money, which is, I think, two very precious commodities.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Is it possible for someone, and we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask this question. Is it possible for someone to have an overnight transformation?
Well, that's a great question, Connie. I think that there's this big push, particularly in personal and professional development, to say, oh my God, they transformed overnight. And I've seen enough, quote, transformations. And if someone was kind of on the verge and they'd been doing their work and something was about ready to pop, and you kind of nudge it, possibly, but the overnight sort of, quote, transformations are more insight. It's like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed to do, right? It's not that the individual has changed. They've seen something a little bit differently and decided to make a change. But human development, at least psychosocial development, is a multi-year process. And great leaders who see the potential in their people and are willing to nurture and grow that will see that growth over time. And that time is not next week or next month, but they have to do that by building that context in which they are both leader, who's accepted by those that they are leading, and who is seen as a mentor and a coach that people feel safe to fail in front of and grow with.
Well said. And it's funny because I know when I go into clients and they're trying to create a sales service and that coaching where they're managers, right? You learn something, but then who's going to coach you the day-to-day kind of stuff that you need to inspect what you expect, that idea. So when I go in and I help build that type of a culture, because that's what they're specifically looking for, I tell my clients, if you think this is like, I'm going to train everybody once and it's a done deal, I'm good, but it's not like I can, take someone's head, open it up, have a magic wand, like turn the switch on for them to say, oh, I'm enlightened. I know everything Connie knows after 39 years, after, spending 8 hours with me. It's illogical. So there's this repetition, this reiteration, this learning and practice. That didn't work. Let me try this. So it's that, and this, I'm still reiterating myself. And it's so funny, Natasha, when I meet organizations or executives, I know immediately because they have to meet my values or I have to meet their values, whichever perspective you want to come from. But if their values are not in line with me, I will not take the business because it's going to be nothing but aggravation for me. So I know when I go into an organization and they say to me, yeah, my team, they need you, I'm good. And I think there's a problem there because you're not perfect. But some people, right, Natasha, you see this, I'm sure, all the time. Oh, it's not me, my people, I'm good, I'm evolved, right? And as soon as someone says that, I think, wow, you really aren't enlightened, because I know I say to myself with every day when I learn something new, at night, we're having dinner, I'll say to my husband, wow, I don't know, like anything. Half the time I feel like, how did I not know that? That to me is someone who's constantly exploring and learning and growing. If you think you know everything, wow, talk about a blind spot, right?
Yeah, it's that old saying of, do you really have, quote, 39 years of experience, or is it the same year 39 times or 20 times or whatever it is? And all too often, it's that same week or that same month or that same experience over and over.
Yeah.
And
Groundhog Day.
exactly. You just better at doing the Groundhog Day, right? But it really is a different mindset to open up and say, all right, I have a role in my own transformation.
Absolutely.
And employees and workers, the workforce goes to that environment that will help them to evolve, that will
Absolutely.
help them to grow their potential.
Yeah.
So
Life is reiteration.
yeah, you've got to hit that balance of they're not bored, but they're not overwhelmed. They're excited and challenged. And if you're not growing yourself, then the likelihood is that you're shutting down others because you're not taking responsibility for the behavior that causes them to close down.
Yeah. I think we don't think of that, Natasha, right? It's the pebble in the pond. We're the pebble, but we do have a repercussion in the people that are in our orbit. So if we're growing and scaling, and we have the right people that we have in our orbit, right? Whether we're working together, et cetera, we're rising together because I'm growing, they're growing. If you're not growing and people are trying to grow, you're pulling them down because they're still in your orbit. It's such a balance. Life is such a balancing act all the time. But I really believe the reiteration is important, because if you think you're perfect, like, wow, to me, we're so beautifully imperfect. That's what makes us each amazing and unique. But what are my superpowers? That's what I should constantly bring to the table and grow and share. And everybody thrives then, right? We're out of time, but guys, listen, a couple of real quick things. If you love Natasha, which I think everyone should, you can email her directly at natasha@spiraldynamicsplural.org. Website, if you're interested in what Natasha's talking about, and just check out the depth of all the beautiful things that her company is doing, go to spiraldynamics.org. I will post it in the show notes. And the last thing is Natasha's running a summit. Can I tell you guys, I've been part of her summits before, and they're amazing. The speakers are just wealth of knowledge, truly geniuses in their own industries and expertise. I'm going to post that link on the show notes so that you guys can get it. It's a free ticket, right, Natasha? The summit is free for everybody to join.
Yeah, if you show up live, it's absolutely free. We've got 36 speakers, 3 days, 12 hours a day. It's going to be awesome, incredible talent. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't exactly do those dates, don't worry. We've got an upgrade. It's $97. You go VIP, you get amazing gifts, and you get replays of all of the speakers. So if there's somebody that you loved and you want to go back and listen multiple times, you can do that.
Yeah, and the gifts are amazing also, guys. It's a great summit. Participate. I'm going to be one of the speakers. I'm giving some things away as well. So come and play with us. I promise I will put that on the summit link. I will put it on the show notes for you guys to join, and it is free to join and come watch. And then I'm telling you, you're going to see the value of the 36 speakers that you're going to think, holy smokes, I need to go back and listen to that again. And for the $97, to me, it's a no-brainer. So I will post that as well. Natasha, thank you so much for being on, sharing your wealth of knowledge and information, and just your content is always so value-driven, and leaders need you. So I am honored that you're on my show, sharing so many wonderful tips and insights. So thank you for being on.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Connie.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
I just love you so much.
Back at you, my friend. Back at you.
Opportunity to chat with you.
I know. We just like to play, right? Then we can say, well, we worked a little bit, right? You got to surround yourself with the right people, guys. I'm telling you. And if you need more me in your life, more Connie in your life, please go to my website. Everything's there. Free resources, my books, my masterclass, the show, links are there. Just go to whitmanassociates.com again, and you'll find anything you need. Natasha, thank you again. And thank you all for joining me as weekly we question, build, and discover together that being that heart-centered sales leader is really, or just leader in general, is so much easier than we think. And hopefully my guests and I provide those amazing resources for you to be able to tap into, to help you on your journey of change and through your leadership experience. Thanks for joining us on the Heart-Centered Sales Leader podcast with me, your Heart-Centered Sales Leader podcast host, Connie Whitman on webtalkradio.net. I wish you all just a wonderful, inspired week. And I truly am honored to have you on this journey of change with me and with my guests. So thanks for tuning in every week, guys. See you next week.